Hello everyone, we'll get started. Thanks for joining. Okay, so welcome everyone to the Melbourne Ecosocialism Conference 2025. My name is Felix Dance. I'll be chairing this session. So this is Prabowo's Indonesia and the struggle for West Papuan self-determination. So I got three speakers today. But firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the land that we're speaking on, the Kulin Nation, an alliance of 5 Aboriginal nations. They are the rightful sovereign owners of this land on which we live, work and organise. The land was never ceded, it was stolen. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and as socialists, we pledge to actively fight against all the manifestations of colonisation, such as children being stolen from their parents and communities, incarceration of Indigenous people and deaths in custody, the huge poverty gap and the high unemployment in Indigenous communities. This always was, always will be Aboriginal land. So in case anyone's new to the conference and this is your first session, which I suspect isn't the case for most of you here, but toilets are located on both the 4th and the ground floor of Ballan Place. Green Left and Socialist Alliance are the hosts of this conference. If you're inspired by anything from any of these sessions, please get involved in Socialist Alliance and our media organisation Green Left. You can find out about upcoming left-wing events and other protests that are happening. And after the speakers have finished at the end of the session, I'll pass around a contact sheet for anybody that's interested in registering or joining up or just finding out more about us. So for this session, we're talking about the importance of freedom for West Papua and Indonesia's role in maintaining the occupation. So in a few seconds, I'll introduce the 3 speakers. So we have Cyndi Makabory, a West Papuan activist based in Naarm, Melbourne. We have Rizaldi Ageng Wicaksono, a coordinator of the Socialist Youth Organisation and member of the Perserikatan Sosialis, the Socialist Union in Indonesia. I hope I got that okay. Thanks. So, his research is focused on the issue of criminalisation on the pro-democracy activists in Indonesia, including the military's growing role in Papua through non-military operations, and will be helped out with some of the translations. So, thank you. Amanda Shweeta Louis is a socialist from Malaysia with a deep commitment to gender justice and strengthening international solidarity. Within Parti Sosialis Malaysia, PSM, she co-coordinates the West Papua Working Group under the International Bureau, where she advocates for the Papuan people's right to self-determination. Amanda is also a Central Committee member of the Gega America, a movement of Malaysians of conscience working to hold the United States accountable for its imperialist actions and interventionist policies across the global south, currently focusing on the liberation of Palestine. She currently serves as the chairperson of Bermuda Socialist Youth Wing of PSM. Thank you. Go on. Applaud. Yeah. Had to get that last bit out there. Okay then. This is typical of the sessions that we're holding, but we'll get each of the speakers to make a 15 to 20 minute contribution. I'll hold up little signs counting down for 15 minutes, I think, just 5 minutes to go, etc. But I can give you an extension if you need. And then after the speakers are finished, we'll take questions in rounds of 3. I'll just get a show of hands, collect 3 questions, and then we'll direct them to the speakers. And we'll keep on going until the end of the session. We'll have a 10-minute wrap-up at the end for the speakers to make some final comments. And we should be finished at about 1:10 is the aim. So, yeah, we're running slightly behind here. Sorry about that. Maybe 1:15 we're looking at the moment. Finishing that, I think that Cyndi would you like to go first? Great. Okay, if you could come up to the lectern so everyone can see and hear you, that would be fantastic. I can help you with the setup. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi everyone, Tabea Mufa. That means hello, greetings to you all in my dad's language, Biak language, the traditional language of the Biak people. Thank you for the introduction. Honoured to be here today with Aldi and Amanda. I'm excited for this yarn. So my name is Cyndi Makabory. I'm a West Papuan activist here in Naarm, Melbourne. But first and foremost, I would also like to acknowledge that we are all gathered here on the traditional custodians of the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and pay my respects to the elders past and present, and also acknowledge, I would like to extend that to any First Nations people who are here with us today. As a West Papuan fighting for the liberation of my people's self-determination for our homeland in this continent, I always have to remind myself that I am a benefactor of a colonization of these lands, and that the same system that imprisoned and oppresses West Papuans in our homeland are also the very same system that oppresses and colonized our First Nations brothers and sisters here in this continent, and that these are stolen lands, and sovereignty was never ceded, and so it always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So, yes, sovereignty was never ceded in West Papua, and sovereignty was never ceded here as well. I guess today my talk would probably be about the connection between the two struggles that are happening currently in Indonesia, but also in West Papua. The protest that is, sorry, I'm too short for this. I'm a petite Polynesian woman. Thank you. Yeah. The protest that is currently rocking Jakarta is fueled by this outrage of corruption, inequality, and, they got a taste of repression. In West Papua, it's been a decades-long occupation. It's, marked by militarization, dispossession, and the silent genocide of our people. So what the Indonesian people are seeing now that are currently happening in their homeland is what Indigenous Papuans have endured, for decades, but also daily. It's a daily phenomenon in West Papua. And, the Jakarta and nationwide protests erupted across Indonesia after, I think Aldi will speak more about it, the revelation of how Prabowo and his MPs, lavish perks, and it's a flashpoint, and a flashpoint where the death of a courier, I think you can fact check this, I think his name is Afram, he was killed by the police armoured vehicle, which also sparked that national outrage. You have protesters flooded the streets, images of circulated of women being on the front line, wielding the brooms, and these are symbolic of the sweeping away of the corruption. And obviously, the government responded with force, and these are what they tend to do all the time. And President Prabowo, he branded these protesters as terrorists, or which is ridiculous. That's what the colonial powers, or the power, the system itself always make these labels against resistance. Armoured vehicles and police crackdowns followed after. So I think at least 6 people have been killed, 10 now. And, with hundreds of arrests, and, a lot of people are injured during the protests as well. This is probably something new for Indonesians, but for Papuans, it's an ordinary thing. It happens all over West Papua. With West Papua's ongoing occupation, I guess, the militarization of West Papua is not emergency, it's every day. The troop deployment, I think last year in October, also Aldi will probably speak more and have more data about this, where Indonesia deployed, 5 new battalions of the national military. I think around 5,000 soldiers at that time was deployed just after Prabowo was inaugurated into office. And his, thought process about that was to secure the national interest, which is to secure the industrial development and the food estate project that are currently happening underway in West Papua. And yeah, thousands more of military were recruited by November, and in 2024, they enacted the agricultural expansion, which is, this is just a map of where, I think down here in orange is where the map of the agricultural expansion, so this is where the food estate program is currently underway, where they're clearing around 2 million hectares of indigenous land to make way for this food estate program. 2 million hectares. Just sit with that thought for a minute. Of indigenous lands, of people's villages, people's lives, of rivers, forests, being cleared to make way for this so-called food estate program. No consideration for the indigenous people of the land, no discussions, no tables where they could sit around and talk about this, none. There was no consultations whatsoever with the indigenous Papuans, which, there was no consultations at the beginning of the colonization of our land as well. We were not in the conversations when they occupied our land. It was all between the Netherlands, the Americans, and I think Australia was part in it as well. But yeah, so 3 points, clearing of 2 million hectares. I think I Googled it somewhere and did a little estimation. I think that's around 3.7 million MCGs. So if you've ever been to the MCG and see how massive it is, I think it's called the Colosseum of the South Pacific. But yeah, that's how big it is. 3.7 million MCGs. That is ridiculous. And you don't hear about this in the news. This is the world's biggest deforestation program currently underway. The world's biggest deforestation program. And there's no news coverage about it. So it's really sad and just really devastating as a Papuan living here. I would love to just go down to the streets of West Papua and protest, but even then there's no freedom of assembly or freedom of speech for the people to be doing that, because they'll just, be combated with more military presence. So the island of Papua in general is home to the world's 3rd largest rainforest, after the Amazon and the Congo. So we are literally a part of the lung of the world. And now, with this food estate program underway, we are under threat. And that lung of the world is under threat at the moment. And destroying it isn't just local. It's climate devastation as well. It's destroying what the indigenous people need to survive. I think there's an image. Gosh, this might be a bit tricky for you. Keep going. I should have thought about this sooner. Okay. Yes, so there's an image here of the indigenous people who are the traditional custodians of the land. So this banner says, we can live without palm oil and, I think, sugarcane, but we can't live without the forest. So with indigenous people in West Papua, their food, their diet is required on what's around the land. That's what they need. And once you get rid of that, all they'll eat is rice or instant noodles. They can't, or they have to go to the next village and try to, gather their food, which is can create conflict as well. So at the end of the day, the conflict is not just against the system, which I love what my mum always says. Also would like to acknowledge the staunch mum in the room. She's an exiled West Papuan liberation leader, and her name is Paula Makabory. She's being a mamarazzi today. So just lost my train of thought. So what my mum always says is that the colonial powers sometimes try to create horizontal conflict, so people against people, instead of vertical conflict, which is against the system, which is against the power that is oppressing and colonizing us. So I love that saying that she always said. Now that the colonial power is constantly putting that fight with people against people and not against the system. So, there's been protests. Also, shout out to my sis, Defe, from Bentala Rakyat Pusaka, who provided us these slideshows. You guys are the first people in the room to see this. 5 minutes to go. I'm on time constraints. So Jakarta demands reform, but with us as Papuans, we demand decolonization. That's the first and foremost important thing, is we demand our decolonization, we demand our independence, and we demand our self-determination. And we call it full freedom. So when Jakarta burns, the global media reacts, but when West Papua is in turmoil, it's met by silence or by media bans, which is still ongoing. There's still international journalists and media are not allowed to go into West Papua to report on these things. So you don't hear them on mainstream media or even the ABC. And so, West Papua are always silenced by media bans or blackouts or inaccessible borders. And also talking about, people being displaced because of these programs, but also because of military raids. There's around 80 to 100,000, last time I checked, of internally displaced Indigenous West Papuans who are fleeing their villages because of military raids coming in, clearing the land for this program, or they always put a facade looking for the West Papuan Liberation Army, which is ridiculous. Because every West Papuan is labelled as a liberation army person if you look the look, with dreads. And dreads is like a typical West Papuan look. So you've got around 80 to 100,000 internally displaced West Papuans currently. A lot of them are seeking refuge. They'll be walking miles and miles by foot, especially in the highlands of West Papua. And some of them will go to the closest PNG border to try and cross the border, but obviously the PNG government will always put a stop to that as well because they can't take that many people in. So these are all interconnected, with what's happening in Indonesia. I hope that any Indonesian present here with us can understand how a decade-long oppression in West Papua, we've experienced what the nation is experiencing at the moment. It's an everyday phenomena. I'm really looking forward to hear what 2 minutes Aldi has to say about the military deployment in West Papua. But Mum, do you want to add anything? 2 minutes? If you want to. 2 minutes though.
I just want to add about, thank you for giving me this chance, to add about the struggle itself. I'm one of that West Papua executive leaders of United Liberation Movements in exile. And for me, this struggle has been going on for nearly more than 60 years since Indonesia annexed the land in 1963. So we are talking about ecosocialisms. We talk about the people's right, and then we talk about the power, the foreign power that come and press you down and you can't do anything about it. So actually what happened in West Papua is, before the so-called plebiscite took place in 1969, in 1967, Freeport McMoran, based in New Orleans, already signed the work contract, first work contract, between Indonesia and America. So I sell your house to my friends before your consent. Until today, West Papua never got consent for any things regarding their land or their property or intellectual properties or everything you call it. But in West Papua, God bless that land. It's evident with any mineral you can call in the world, including uranium. So Freeport already extend the work contract for more than 40 years now. What happened in West Papua is the involvement of that so-called military government into every single aspect of life. You're gonna call it, you're gonna see it, whatever the names you give them, people there are suffering because the system's killing them, not just the gun. The entire international product of law, the so-called Indonesians' unity or development in West Papua, there is no development. It's all projects to kill my people, to keep them all away from their own land that God gave them. What happened is the military came under the government power to grab and to own the land. Even though under Indonesian law, it was stated that, chapter 33, yeah? The land and all the forests will be managed, not owned, by the state for the people. But it's not like that. So we have been calling for Pacific Island Forum, which is gonna be happening in Solomon Islands. We have been calling for Melanesians leaders, but Indonesians go around with a bit of money for the small island countries, keep their mouths out. So today's challenge is, how can we challenge the international law or practices to get West Papua right to self-determination? Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Could I just get you to introduce yourself quickly? Sorry, I didn't do that at the start. What's your name?
I'm Cyndi Makabory, and Executive Leader of United Youth Organisation.
Thank you. Okay then, our next speaker is Rizaldi Ageng Wicaksono, and you've got you're a translator here as well? Yeah. What was your name, sorry? Alma. Alma. Great to meet you.
Di sini. Selamat siang semuanya. Terima kasih sudah menyempatkan datang ke diskusi mengenai Papua dan perkembangan terkini di Indonesia di masa Prabowo Subianto.
Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for making your time and coming down here and talking about the conditions in Indonesia and the rise of Prabowo too.
Okay. So,
if you spin on this mic and have the next mic up for the
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry?
Oke. Sebagaimana sudah dijelaskan tadi sama Cyndi, ada perkembangan militer di Merauke mengenai food estate, dan mungkin saya akan menambahkan isu atau konteks terkini mengenai kebijakan nasional yang dilakukan di masa sebelum Prabowo atau ketika dia menjadi Menteri Pertahanan di 2019 sampai 2024 hingga saat ini, apa yang dia lakukan.
So, just like what Cyndi says, we're going to talk about the rise of militarism, especially the food estate, and the country's response as a national before Prabowo became the president and the defense military, the minister of the district.
Jadi kita perlu melihat bahwa di Indonesia pasca Soeharto jatuh, Indonesia menghadapi situasi di mana mereka mempunyai banyak hutang dari IMF, dan di situasi itu Indonesia adalah negeri dengan industri yang sangat-sangat terbelakang. Dan di tahun 2003 ketika Indonesia menghadapi situasi sebelum pemilu pertama, pemilu demokratik pertama, World Bank mengatakan bahwa Indonesia mengalami krisis infrastruktur. Dan jika kalian ingin mendapatkan investasi dari luar negeri, kalian harus membangun infrastruktur yang itu dari bantuan kami. Jadi World Bank sekali lagi mereka melakukan kontrol pasca militer atau Soeharto itu turun. Sekarang.
Okay. So after the fall of Soeharto, Indonesia faced a lot of debt, and Indonesia became one of the country that has their industry was all over the place. And in 2003, the first democratic election, World Bank stated that Indonesia is facing a failure or a crisis infrastructure, and then World Bank suggests that if you want to get more investment from the foreign policy, you need to
meminjam uang dari kita.
you need to loan a lot of money from the World Bank.
Yeah. So what happened after that? Pemerintah Indonesia setelah 2004 itu melakukan perombakan kebijakan besar-besaran berhubungan dengan ketenaga kerjaan itu di tahun 2003 dan berhubungan dengan tanah dan infrastruktur. Ada perubahan kebijakan mengenai tanah yang itu nanti akan sangat-sangat berdampak di Papua. Karena sekali lagi Indonesia menegaskan bahwa kita negara yang bisa memiliki tanah dan kita pergunakan untuk kepentingan umum. Tapi kepentingan umum itu, sebagaimana data yang saya kumpulkan, kepentingan umum itu disalah artikan sebagai kepentingan untuk mengakomodasi kelas-kelas borjuis internasional atau kelas-kelas borjuis nasional.
So in 2004, Indonesia was facing a lot of land stolen, especially in West Papua, and therefore people were making this some kind of law regarding public-private partnership and land distribution for the common interest. But then, however, the common interest is only for the bourgeoisie people and the political elite.
Ya. Jadi semenjak itu konflik agraria meningkat sangat signifikan. There is a 660 conflict during 2020 until 2023, and a lot of people got criminalized on that conflict, including the masyarakat adat,
including the indigenous people in Indonesia.
Tapi yang bahaya itu sebenarnya di pasca Jokowi menjadi presiden, karena dia adalah elit dari sipil yang sama sekali tidak punya koneksi dengan polisi, punya koneksi dengan kelas borjuis yang di luar militer. Jadi ketika dia menjadi seorang bupati, wali kota di Solo, satu-satunya orang yang mendukung dia adalah mantan jenderal di militer, yaitu Luhut Binsar Panjaitan. Dan dia didukung untuk maju menjadi gubernur di Jakarta itu atas dukungan militer. Jadi secara praktis Jokowi sudah menarik kembali militer untuk terlibat aktif dalam politik di tahun 2014. Dan seperti yang ada di gambar, seperti ada yang ada di gambar, ada keterlibatan militer pasca Soeharto turun itu setidaknya dari 2009, yaitu Megawati yang mengajak Prabowo untuk menjadi calon wakil presidennya. Kemudian ada mantan jenderal berdarah yang berbicara dengan Jokowi dan mendukung Jokowi, itu Riamizard Yakudu. Kemudian ada juga Wiranto, orang otak penculikan di tahun 98. Kemudian ada Hendro Priyono. Dan di tahun 2019 mereka benar-benar kuat mendukung Jokowi. Dan di tahun 2019 itu pula Prabowo menjadi Ministry of Defense.
So, what was the kind of the catalyst of the events is when Jokowi became the president in Indonesia during the 2014-2019. Although he was not part of any bourgeoisie party, he was a civilian politic who has no connection to any militarism or any who has any connection there. But then one of the ex-general during the Wiranto, who was perpetrating the human rights violator in '98, and he was supporting Jokowi in all of his elections, and he was also promoted, and because of that, he became promoted to become the governor in Jakarta.
Next.
Next.
Dan di tahun 2019 Prabowo menjadi menteri, dipilih menjadi menteri.
And in 2019, Jokowi Prabowo became the Minister of Defense, which is a terrible decision.
Jadi ada banyak kebijakan dari Prabowo selama dia menjadi menteri, termasuk meningkatkan alokasi pendanaan militer dan perbelanjaan tentara. Itu dilakukan semenjak dia menjadi menteri.
So Prabowo, when he became the defense Ministry of Defense, he allocated a lot of funding into the military, and he does a lot of shopping basically for the militarism to buy weapons and stuff.
Okay, next. Semenjak reformasi, militer masih bermain di sektor bisnis, terutama di mining, kemudian palm oil plantation, dan terakhir tadi seperti yang disebutkan oleh Cyndi, itu sugar cane. Jadi mereka masih bermain di situ, dan juga itu menjadi off budget mekanisme mereka untuk tetap beroperasi dan bisa melakukan operasi-operasi politik di daerah.
Ever since the Reformation, military is still occupying West Papua and sugarcane.
Nationally, occupying national.
Occupying national, so they still, sugarcane became one of the
budget resource.
It became the budget resource of the political.
And also, they increasing their military deployment in Papua because there are a lot of concession on natural resources in Papua. So if you want to see the maps, there is a yellow, green maps. This is a natural resources of sugarcane, mining, and palm oil plantations. And you can see the red block here. Here the military deployment. So it close to the concession. Okay. Well, next. So this is the data related to the BKO. BKO is battalion from outside Papua were sent to Papua in 2024 until 2025. They sent more than 13,000 of troops to Papua, and it's concentrated in the center of Papua. So more military concentrated on the center of Papua. Next. This is the data related to internal displaced person, and it's centered in a central Papua. Duga, Puncak, Intan Jaya, Mimika. And they are going to the forest, to the mountain, and there is no food. And the last month, they start to using the plane to bombing them. Okay, next. So this is the extrajudicial killing from 2018, and it's centered in Central Papua, as you can see. And it increased during the Jokowi's presidency. Increased during the Prabowo Ministry of Defense. So that's all the data, I think. Apa yang kita lakukan di Indonesia, gerakan aktivis di Indonesia, karena orang-orang Indonesia itu masih sangat terilusi oleh militer baik, militer menjadi penolong rakyat, dan institusi militer masih menjadi institusi yang paling terpercaya dalam survei di Indonesia. Ayo.
So in Indonesia, the movement in Indonesia, there's still some illusion that military, where they believe that militarism is supporting the people and for the people, and in the survey they believe that the militarism is actually part of the people too, and they're still being entrusted by most of the civilian in Indonesia.
Jadi ketika kita berbicara mengenai gerakan anti militerisme dan gerakan pembebasan rakyat Papua, itu sebenarnya sangat-sangat terkait. Dan kita bisa melihat bahwa di Papua banyak sekali orang dibunuh. Tapi di Jakarta, di pulau-pulau lain tidak ada. Jadi ketika kita mau berbicara mengenai gerakan anti militerisme di Indonesia, Papua adalah gerakan yang harus juga dimenangkan di Indonesia, sehingga kita akan kembali seperti tahun 98 ketika perjuangan demokratik di Indonesia itu juga bersatu dengan perjuangan pembebasan rakyat Timor Leste.
So when we talk about the anti-militarism movement in Indonesia, when we compare it to the people in Jakarta and West Papua or other islands in Indonesia, most of the killings or the murders are happening in West Papua, whereas others have probably less numbers. And when we're talking about that, West Papua is, when we talk about anti-militarism specifically, West Papua, we need to understand that West Papua
Jadi perkembangan West Papua dia harus terhubung dengan gerakan.
So the movement or the development in West Papua or anything about anti-militarism needs to be interconnected. So the issues in Jakarta and West Papua are always interconnected regarding where it is. And when we talk about anti-militarism, the main thing that people need to talk about is West Papua.
Yeah. That's all.
That's all.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. That worked quite well with the translation. Thank you for doing that, Elmo, as well. Okay, our final speaker is Amanda Shweeta Louis.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Amanda. I am from the Socialist Party of Malaysia, PSM, Parti Sosialis Malaysia. And, okay, all right, thank you. So today, I think my role here is to be talking about what is it like to show solidarity for the West Papuan movement, especially since we are so nearby West Papua. And I also want to thank my comrades here for giving the historical context as well as the current on-the-ground situation in West Papua. I think that's really important to start off the session with. So yeah, maybe the second slide. Thanks. Yeah, so West Papua today. We can see the history of colonization and betrayal. It really brings us to today's reality, where we see an intensified militarization as well as economic exploitation under the new president with the same old playbook that we have. And Prabowo has deployed thousands of additional troops to West Papua, mainly to police the new ecocidal mega plantations. And he has also introduced a more comprehensive system of military occupation. And just last year, Prabowo was elected as Indonesia's president, a general known for his war atrocities across places like Timor-Leste and also West Papua. And I think for me, it's a bit alarming to see that he was elected despite all his war crimes. And I look back at the role social media played in this, where he used it sort of to reshape his image to come across as this like cuddly grandpa. And that's how I feel like he won the elections. And I think we can draw similar parallels to Malaysia, where social media is used as that tool for older leaders to reshape their image, to gain trust from younger and new voters who may not know how these people were like in the past. So yeah, the next slide, please. So does the Malaysian government have an official stance on West Papua? And the straightforward answer is no, we do not. And Malaysia has not taken a clear position, but the government in the past has sort of expressed concerns for West Papua when the situation did worsen. And currently, Malaysia is the chair for ASEAN this year. And through that, we are actually bound by Article 2 of the ASEAN Charter, which upholds the principle of non-interference for state members. And what this means is that because of that, the country on its own is not able to speak up against West Papua, because the Malaysian government regards West Papua as an internal issue, a domestic issue for Indonesia. Yeah. So that is on the government side of things. Next, please. So PSM's position on West Papua, very straightforward. We recognize and respect the right to self-determination of the people of West Papua, including holding a referendum to decide on the future of West Papua, stop repression against the people of West Papua, who are voicing out their demands for self-determination, including those who raised the Morning Star flag, free all political prisoners from West Papua, and those who supported the Papuan cause for self-determination, protect the right to freedom of information, expression, of association, and especially freedom of thought for the Papuan people, and to improve the lives of the people of West Papua by enhancing social protections, and to end racism against the people of West Papua. So these have been the demands of PSM all throughout our years of advocacy and support for the people of West Papua. So I am one of the co-coordinators of the West Papua Working Group in Parti Sosialis Malaysia. So I'll just be talking a bit about the work that we've done. So actually, just to share a bit, I joined the party in 2021, and only when I joined the party did I learn about West Papua, which is so surprising because West Papua is so close by to Malaysia. Most Malaysians do not know of West Papua, of what's happening in West Papua. And it's so sad, actually. So younger me actually could not believe that this was happening and it's so close by. And yeah, PSM has long supported the cause for it. So I traced back to 2018, where we gathered NGOs, non-profit organizations in Malaysia, as well as international parties within the region of Southeast Asia, to submit a memorandum to the United Nations for West Papuan self-determination. And throughout the past 3 years as well, when I was in the party, we've had online campaigns where we tried to raise awareness. We've done infographics on the cause as well. And at events, we have booth materials for display so that people can read and understand more about what's happening in West Papua. We've also hosted online sessions, documentary screenings for people. It's always safer to do things online for us in case the police come and intercept our events. We do not want that to happen. So most of the time it's done online, especially with comrades like Surya Anta. He is a long-term activist and ex-political prisoner for the West Papuan cause, as well as Victor Yemo, a prominent West Papuan independence activist. We've had conversations with them, so we brought this really important conversation to Malaysia. Yeah, and we also consistently write statements. This is the least we could do, writing a statement, you know. Anytime something happens, release a statement, send it to the press, ensure that someone is talking about it. Because if we don't, no one in Malaysia is going to speak about it. Yeah, so now I just want to share a bit of maybe like what you can do, you know, if this is your first time hearing about West Papua. And yeah, so definitely it's important to keep up to date with the news. I think this is one of the most simple steps. You can follow accounts like Veronica Koman on X if you're on the platform. They tweet a lot about, they're quite quick with tweeting about what's actually happening on the ground. And also news sites like United Liberation Movement West Papua. And I'm sure if you want to speak to me, we can talk more about this later. And yeah, I think it's very important to even have that awareness first, because that's where it starts. Once you know about the situation, what's happening, then you're able to do more with that information. Go talk to your friends about it. Anytime you see something, retweet, reshare it, talk to others about it, organize with people. Yeah. Next, use your platform to break the media blockade and actively debunk racist and fascist myths, especially on West Papua. So every time I tweet about West Papua, I get like 10 citros or bots very quickly responding and saying, oh, what you're saying is not true, the Papuans are happy, focus on your own country. Yeah, and it's so crazy that this happens like within 5 minutes of me tweeting. You get 10 instant responses, and it's crazy to, like, we have to understand that this is what their capacity is on the other end, whether it's the Indonesian government who has all this intelligence working on their end to combat the narratives that we are pushing out. But this is why it's so important for more people to speak up against it, because this is what we're going up against. Yeah. And yeah, West Papuans have always talked about, just previous slide. Sorry. Yeah, West Papuans have always talked about how there's internet blockades in the country, internet blackouts during periods of unrest, and they've also said that the government, through this, by blocking the media, they are trying to prove that, oh, there's no unrest. They're trying to build a narrative that West Papua is fine and there's no conflict, which is absolute nonsense. So yeah. The third one, what you can do is get organized if you feel comfortable to do so. You can start small by linking companies that are currently exploiting the land in West Papua. There are a few Malaysian companies that are exploiting the land over there, but there is a whole 200-page long report on it. So if you are interested to know more, you can just speak to me after this. I'll be able to share that with you. And also, of course, I think I noticed in rallies in Australia, there are people raising the West Papuan Morning Star flag, so that's absolutely great. That's where we should also start. So yeah, I'm just coming to the conclusion real quick after this. So I just put a quote here, "Nobody's free until everybody's free" by Fannie Lou Hamer. I think this is a really important reminder, because with what we've learned today, it's we really need to speak up, because being silent, it will only benefit those who continue to exploit and oppress us. And our responsibility here today is to break that silence. So what I want us to take away from this is we must continue to speak out against the injustices that we are seeing every day, and get organized. Sign up with Socialist Alliance. Okay. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. And thanks to all our speakers. Again, that was Cyndi Makabory, Rizaldi Ageng Wicaksono, and Amanda Shweeta Louis. So we'll go to discussion now. So I'll get some hands from the audience, and I'll pick 3, and this is completely my discretion, so, you know, no backbiting. But, yep, okay, cool, we've got 3 already, so let's see, I'll say, I don't know everybody's name, so I'm just going to describe people. The woman in the second row, I'll get you to come up to the microphone, and gentleman at near the back there, yes, with the thumbs up, and your name, who I've forgotten, on the left with the beret. Dom, yep, I remember. Great. So that'll be 3 minutes per contribution, and then we'll get the speakers to respond.
Who was first, sorry?
No, you, sorry. Alex will be in the next. Yes. You were number 1.
Okay, so I have to admit that I'm really ignorant on these issues. So I have to really thank having such a wonderful panel of teachers who I've learnt so much from today. So I really appreciated our Malaysian comrade for talking about the solidarity movement for West Papua in Malaysia. And I was wanting to ask about the state of the West Papuan solidarity movement in Indonesia, especially how it's affected by police repression there. Because, you know, as we know as socialists, when the working class is organised and mobilised, there's just no greater force on the planet.
Yep, come up.
Hey, thank you so much for coming to speak with us today from everybody. I'll keep my comments brief. I guess I was just, because today we focused a lot on fighting for the self-determination of the West Papuans and fighting against the ecocide. So I'm wondering if the speakers could perhaps say a few words about how we envision the reconstruction happening, how we might be able to, what kind of forces we can mobilize to rebuild nature in there, how we can actually rebuild, help the West Papuans rebuild their lives, and you know, how we imagine that ecological sort of reconstruction happening once we actually stop the carnage. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, comrades, for those wonderful contributions. This is mostly for, I think, Cyndi and the Indonesian comrades. As Australia is maybe not the biggest, but one of the biggest enablers of Indonesia's exploitation within West Papua, and historically as well Timor-Leste, which is sort of the obvious, I would think is the obvious comparison to the present state of the West Papuan struggle. I'm just wondering, as activists in Australia, what is it that we can do to facilitate greater pressure on Indonesia from our perspective and encourage action towards West Papuan liberation of the kind of movement, you know, there are criticisms of it, but of the kind of movement that we did see directed towards Timor-Leste in the late 90s. Which, you know, ultimately was successful.
Thanks, Tom. All right, now there are a couple of questions directed at the speakers here. Who would like to go first? Okay. Sure, yes, please.
So I think the first question was just a general question to everyone, or was it specifically to...
Answer how you like.
Okay. I think you talk about the solidarity with West Papuans in Indonesia. From what I know is that there are a group of Indonesians that are in solidarity with West Papuans' self-determination for independence. They're called the FRI, so the Front Rakyat Indonesia untuk Papua, so the People's Front for West Papua. They're honestly a collective of grassroots activists, but also university students, and also you have uni students who are also studying in parts of Indonesia who are also part of that FRAI group. So yeah, within Indonesia, the young people are definitely standing up. There are definitely, you see young people also when there are protests in parts of Indonesia, these Indonesian allies will be the ones that are on the forefront protecting the West Papuans when they are protesting in Indonesia and when they're facing police and the military. So yeah, right now there's definitely a movement of solidarity within Indonesia for West Papuans. I hope that answers the question, yeah. I think the second question is about the reconstruction to rebuild the nature or to rebuild lives in West Papua. Is that? Yes. So that's the thing. We can't have that reconstruction without having our independence or have our self-determination because they are all interconnected. There's overlays, we can live in peace, but there's no independence, there's no self-autonomy. You can be in peace on the land, but you can't have freedom. There's no freedom. So there's a difference between having peace and freedom, but also that reconstruction, we need to have liberation. We need to have our sovereignty back. We need to have our autonomy back. And in order to have that reconstruction, that's what we need, is for liberation, first and foremost. And I think the third question is Australia's role in enabling the exploitation in West Papua, and also as activists in Australia, what we can do to facilitate greater pressure to Indonesia. So in order for us to also gain our independence, like Timor-Leste, I think Australia plays a major, important role. I mean, currently Australia is directly complicit. Australia is training and arming the Indonesian soldiers. The training camp for Indonesian soldiers is currently located in Perth. Just recently, I think last year or the year before, where they have the TNI soldiers, which is the Tentara Nasional Indonesia, or the Indonesian National Military. They have these training facilities in Perth, specifically for them to educate about militarization, to educate about these weapons that they can use, but also to fund them as well, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's directly complicit, and you don't hear about these. So honestly, shout out to the guys at Disrupt Wars who's doing an amazing job, collecting these data and evidence as well about the training and the arming of weapons. And also shout out to the guys who went down to the weapons manufacturers, very staunch. And yeah, I mean, directly complicit. The arming and training these killers really to go back and kill my people. So yeah, in order for Australians, like ordinary Australians, to really act on this is write to your government. I cannot express how important it is to write to your local ministers and just voice your concerns. We do have templates, but yeah, thank you. But yeah, honestly, write to your local MPs. Come and have a chat with me if you want, and we could probably just sort something out here and make some ruckus. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, yeah, thank you.
Very well, thank you. Now, would you like to speak, Rizaldi?
So I'm going to answer about the police repression today because for the last 5 years, the police of Indonesia getting more budget from the Ministry of Budget, and also they gain more training from the Australian police. They have a good relationship with Australian police. So yeah, that's what happened. The repression for the last 5 years, the criminalizations of Surya Anta and the criminalizations of 4 activists in Sorong today, it's also have a connection with the police and their good relationship with police in Australia. So the situations about Indonesian solidarity for West Papua, it's increased today because there is a lot of exploitation that being covered by media, being covered by Bentala Rakyat Garuda, the NGO of environment. So there is increase of the news, the data about the stolen land, about the land grabbing in Papua, 2 million hectares, and they got angry. There's a lot of youth people, the young people in Indonesia try to focus on what happened in Merauke today. So it's a good move, and what we do in Indonesia, try to organize them to the free WP, because we are also the part of free WP, and also try to organize them to join the revolutionary organization. Also, yeah, what the Australian can do, besides of the police connection with the Indonesian police connection with the Australian police, in Merauke, there is a big company, agriculture, big company from Australia who investing money on it. So you can campaigning about that. Okay, so yeah.
Thank you, Rizaldi. And then Amanda, would you like to answer any of the questions? Or it's okay, you don't. We can get the next ones. Okay, great. So I'll take another group of three. Now I had Alex over there, Susan over here, and one other person, yourself in the front row. Yes, and we'll go Alex, Susan, and yep.
Yeah, firstly, I'd like to thank you very much for coming all the way down here to Melbourne in winter especially, or almost winter. Really appreciate it. I've got a question for Amanda and the PSM, and that is regarding solidarity work with West Papua, and I'm wondering what form that takes. You said that it's mostly online for safety, and I'm wondering what you can actually get away with, and if it varies in different parts of a country, what if you can do something in KL that you couldn't do in Mumbai or something like that. Is it safe to simply have an information meeting about West Papua, or would that be illegal because it is in some way criticising the government? Can you get people to sign a petition? Can you distribute a newspaper? Just that kind of thing. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks to our panel for your amazing presentations. I think I was glad Dom raised a question about Australia's role, because I really feel like that's an important thing to inject into this, because we're sitting here basically enabling and being complicit in Indonesia's occupation of West Papua and the direct exploitation of West Papuan resources and wealth, and we can't, we have to take action here against our own government and its role. One thing that's been noticeable has been the way that Indonesia is also becoming, more strategic in terms of trying to strike defence agreements with Papua New Guinea and other countries in the region, to, in a way, help to silence West Papua over the human rights abuses and its occupation. And so I was just wondering, Aldi, if you could perhaps comment on how the Socialist Union views, Indonesia's role in the region more generally, and how that is impacting on the situation in Papua. That would be great. And also, Cyndi, possibly something you'd like to comment on too, in terms of particularly the defence cooperation agreements that Australia and Indonesia are discussing, and what impact that will have as well in terms of Australia's willingness, although it's been pretty pathetic up till now, to speak out at all about human rights in West Papua. Thanks.
Firstly, I kind of wanted to start by thanking the panel for actually coming here. I think one of the things we've seen, I think, as someone who is born and raised in Indonesia, like the solidarity between West Papua and Indonesia is actually important for the liberation of all within the region, actually. Like the struggle for West Papua and the struggle for Indonesia are inseparable. I want to make a few comments about the role of Indonesia, then I'll ask a question to Aldi, but Amanda, feel free to, and Sydney, feel free to comment as well. But I think one thing, the same day Afan Kurniawan was struck by a police vehicle and run over, Penny Wong released a joint statement with the Indonesian Foreign Ministry saying that we will continue to reaffirm our military relationship, we will continue to do military training, we'll continue to do police training. Just absolutely shameful. And I think as we've learned from the movement for a free Palestine, the struggle against militarism, against the ramp up of imperialism happening right now globally is extremely tied to the struggles happening in Indonesia and West Papua. We need to actually demilitarize Australia, demilitarize Indonesia to avoid the oppression and exploitation that is being experienced by the people of West Papua right now. And I think, yeah, just another, I think what Aldi says is correct. It's like after Reformasi, it's like the capital, like the military hasn't been ousted from capital. They haven't been ousted from the ruling class. They've been completely entrenched. And I think right now is what we're seeing with Prabowo is a consolidation and a return to that power, a return to the Suharto era regime that we're witnessing today. So yeah, I think my question goes to the thing about solidarity and the struggle. I think right now what we're seeing is an inspiring mass movement in Indonesia, and I think I want to sort of check the mood exactly, like how are we able to interject into this movement? Because I know for a fact that we cannot liberate Indonesia without the freedom of West Papua. We cannot liberate West Papua without the freedom of the working class within Indonesia as well. But yeah, I guess those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll get the speakers once again to respond to the questions and comments, and might as well start with you, Cyndi, unless you want to pass it on to someone else, that's all good. Okay.
All right, so I think the question was more so of when it comes to organizing in Malaysia, is it safe, I think? Yeah. When we want to host sort of like informational meetings, if it's not a public event, then it's completely fine. But if we were to make something public, then there's always that risk that intelligence might come around, because they do come to, when we host socialism conferences, they are there. They do show up to our events when we have campaign launches on free healthcare, our free healthcare campaign. So they are there, they want to know what we're saying. So definitely there is that risk that whatever we're saying, it might come back against us, come back to bite us. But what we do is we take precautions. Of course, we have registration. We make sure we're able to identify them. And when we talk about hosting events in the I'm trying to understand how to phrase it so that you all understand. But in the city center compared to other states, it also depends on if you have the critical mass with you to even organize, because 1 or 2 people may not be enough for like a bigger demonstration in Malaysia. And that's the issue. So if you do not have that bigger base, then you are forced to do things online, which is what we've been doing. Like, for example, I mentioned that there are some companies in Malaysia linked to the exploitation in West Papua, and these companies are mainly situated in Sarawak. So this is in the east of Malaysia. So it's quite far, and the PSM, we do not have sort of a big base over there, so it would be hard for them to organize. But if we do organize anything over here, the only thing that would happen is we might get banned from entering Sarawak. So these are some of the risks that are attached to sort of organizing on a bigger scale, and more public. Yeah, hope that answered your question. Thank you.
Okay then, and Rizaldi, would you like to?
Okay, I'm gonna try to answer the questions about the Indonesian connections with Papua New Guinea and other country. The problem is the policies of Indonesia related to the military operation in Papua. They never declare of war. They just declare there is a attack in Papua. There is a terrorist in Papua. So we have to send the military. So there is no option for international organizations such as UN to go to Papua to see what happened in Papua. And Indonesian government can convince the UN that there is no independent movement in Papua. They always can convince it. So the international solidarity pressure, I think it's really important in country like Australia, like America, like imperialist country, because they got the special treatment in Papua. They have a company, big company. The UK have a British Petroleum. The America have a Freeport. Another company, sugarcane company, the agriculture company from Australia just got the land in Australia. So there is no hope from the elite, of international elite. So the last source, I think, the international solidarity, the grassroots international solidarity, the working international solidarity, I think. That's all.
And Cyndi, 1 minute.
So I think the question from yourself was about the military cooperation. So it was last year that they made that agreement, I think, in 2024, between tightening the defense cooperation between Indonesia and Australia. Yeah, I mean, it's really bizarre to have like what's going on and then to keep tightening these, you know, military corporations within these two countries. I think it's just obviously to just maintain that power of imperialism as well, and just really maintain the colonial presence both in West Papua, but also, you know, I mean, obviously here in so-called Australia with the movements on sacred countries. So yeah, I think with these tightening of military ties, it's just to show these imperialist powers that they are still in control and are still able to take over, you know, indigenous lands without having any consultations with indigenous people. And also I think the other question was about the West Papua silence in the region. I think the best person to answer this question would be my mum, because she's been lobbying throughout the Pacific, you know, specifically with Pacific nation countries. So if you want to come up and just maybe tell us, or just stay there if you have got up to you.
Thank you. ULMWP is already gained its status within Melanesian First Groups, which is all the Melanesian countries, Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Solomon Island, Vanuatu, and the waiting nations, Kanaki. So we have been observers, and then back in 2013, Indonesia have been that being pushed as a observer status as well. And then in 2014, when we got our status as observer, Indonesia get lifted up as an associate member. And then a couple of years ago, 2019, Pacific Island Forum's leaders communique already asked Indonesia to open West Papua for the visit of human rights commissioners, and his office means that all the special rapporteurs on special cases will be there too. But until today, there is nothing happen. So for me, every time we talk in the forums or international arena or regional arena, we hear our own voices. How can we lifted up these voices with the socialist movements and everything. Because for me, attending any forum to forum until I got lots of gray hair now in the middle here, since I was a university student standing for West Papua. What's wrong with this? The system's going wrong because those in power didn't see us, the police, the military, the government didn't see us as allies in controlling the policies or whatever being written down national or internationally to be done for the benefits of the people, not for the benefit of the peoples in power. So that is something wrong. How can we rewrite this? How can we right the wrong? It's our challenge today. What's wrong with the international treaties? What's wrong with all the treaties signed by 4-pack, Australia, China, Australia, UK, America, Taiwan? And then again, this year we heard about another treaty being signed by AUKUS for 50 years. Where is West Papua in this region? Every time we talk about Indo-Pacific geopolitics, I say, where is Papua in this? Are we just becoming the gate between the Pacific and the Asia, and nothing want to do with us? Is my skin color, my curly hair is wrong to get me rights for self-determinations, to have my own nations? I'm telling you, what happened with that UN permanent Security Council permanent member? Who invests in West Papua? Who invests in natural gases? China. Who invests in natural oil? UK. Who invests in gold, copper, nickel, uraniums? US. Who gonna build satellite clones in West Papua? Russia. So when we talk about West Papua, I would like to invite you to see all the frames. Where is West Papua in this Indo-Pacific geopolitics? And how can we move it? How can we put it there so all eyes will be on West Papua, not on the paper, not on the social media? But there must be the real actions to free my people who have been suffering for so long time. We are not far away in the Middle East. We are at the back of Australian gate. Why we are so blind about this? Why only one West Papuan flags during the Palestinians rally? Why you are so blind with me and my people, with our rights? I want to challenge you. West Papua is the homework of United Nations. It's unfinished job. I need you to stand up together with me and my people to free my country. Thank you. As the mastermind of the flu of the 43 political refugees in Indonesia National Parliament House. So, actually what happened in West Papua is nationals, regionals, head of military cannot control all the units of military in West Papua. Because all the generals in Jakarta own their own units in West Papua for illegal logging, illegal business, whatever. The national budget for the military only 60%, 40%. How can they get the 60%? They need to be involved in everything. So all the good timber on the backyards of people here in Australia or Pacific come from the black man. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now, we have gone over time, as we said that we would, but if there's any burning questions from the audience, I'll just get anybody from the panel that would like to make a wrap-up statement to finish up. Okay, then one question from you, and then we'll get the panel to have a just like 2-minute wrap-up if you have anything to say. Thanks.
Quickly, Mas Rizaldi, you mentioned about in Sorong, what's going on in Sorong and what's going on in Yakuhimo province. Also, Cyndi, also if you want to answer to that. Thank you.
Okay, then maybe Cyndi and then Rizaldo and then Amanda as a quick wrap up for 2 minutes. Great, yeah, come up.
What happened in Sorong is there are 4 political prisoners who trying to transfer to Makassar, the another island. So there is a solidarity from the people there, and the military and the police responded with just shooting them and criminalize them. So there is, I think, 10 until 15 people got arrested, including Mama Mandabayan. She is the also the political activist who already been criminalized before, and it's spreading. The movement, the solidarity is spreading across the Papua. And we tried it in Indonesia. We tried to connect it to the movement in Indonesia, to make it connected with the anti-militarism movement. So, for the final conclusion, maybe I just want to people in Australia to make more solidarity for Papua and anti-militarism in Indonesia, because the militarism, the militarizations in Indonesia today is the manifestations of what happened in Papua for decades. And it happened to Indonesian people too today. So give your solidarity for us. Thank you.
But yes, I mean, she wasn't directly involved, but because she's been so active in, protests and rallies, the police are taking this opportunity and advantage to just arrest her and imprison her. So this will be her second time being imprisoned. The first time she gave birth behind the prison jail. So we would like you guys to just keep advocating for her and for her immediate release without any conditions, and for all the political prisoners who are being sent to Indonesia to get to be trialed instead of being trialed in West Papua. So that in itself, the system is just not just. Papua Merdeka.
You pass it to me? You know what I'm saying? Okay then. Great. Well, since we're a little bit over time, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you extremely for attending and for giving your presentations and for answering the questions. It's been an eye-opening session, so thanks to all the participants. And thanks everyone else for coming. We've got a 1 hour lunch break, although it's about 50 minutes now, and